Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Zenitton, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. Today is another Targon day and a champion day. Today is the day of Pantheon, and Pantheon is pretty good. I'll be honest with you, not really my style. He seems to be more of a mid-range snowball kind of card. That's not really my style. I'm more of a control player. But I can still see the strength of Pantheon. And I'll be honest with you, while I'm not the biggest mid-range fan, I do like the mid-range decks that play lots of combat tricks and mess around with numbers and giving buffs and stuff. And Pantheon seems to be that kind of card. But yeah, only Targon cards today. No new keywords, no other cards besides Targon cards. So I'm sorry if you were looking forward to Freljord or Bandle City or whatever. Sorry about that, but it's Pantheon Day. So let's go and see what Pantheon looks like. Okay. Pretty good card here. Pantheon is a 4-mana 4/2. Terrible stat line. I will not even try to sugarcoat it. That is a terrible, terrible stat line for a 4-drop. The keywords make up for it, and the text in general on Pantheon does make up for it, though, I think. I'm still a little hesitant, though, because 4/2, specifically 2 health on champions that cost like 3 or more mana is always a little dangerous to have. Think of things like Echo and Draven and Fiora. But the reason why I think Pantheon will be okay with the 2 health is the keywords. Overwhelm, which is nice. It lets you get some nice chip damage and end the game fairly decently quickly. Barrier and Faded. Faded specifically is, the more and more I see Faded, the more and more I think to myself, wow, Faded is great. Because after I saw Faded first revealed, I went through the entire card pool and I was like, wow, there's actually a lot of ways to activate Faded now that I think about it. So yeah, it seems like you want to play Pantheon, and on the turn you play him, you want to get a Faded trigger. And Barrier helps you do that. So that seems really good in my opinion. Now that's all he does at level 1. That's kind of mediocre. So what's he do when he levels up? Well, let's see. How to level him up. You've targeted allies in 5 different rounds. Good news. Pantheon doesn't have to see that, so that's nice. So you can start the Pantheon level up right away on turn 1. Bad news. That's a really, really, really slow level up. But the payoff is really good. So Pantheon levels up. He gets the +1/+1 like most champs get when they level up. Still has Overwhelm, still has Barrier, and Faded. Cool. Okay. So what's he do now? When Pantheon is summoned, or he levels up, he gets a random keyword for each round you've targeted allies this game. So minimum, that's 5 because, he levels up, unless you level up your champion with some other card, and I don't think you can at the moment for Pantheon. I know you can with other cards and like Shurima and Ascendant and stuff. So minimum, that's giving him 5 other keywords. So he's an arsenal in a champion form. 8 keywords? Because you get the 5 and then you get you already have Overwhelm, Barrier, and Faded. It's extremely unlikely you're not going to get some good keywords. You're probably going to get at least let's say elusives, challengers, quick attacks. You already have Overwhelm. So you're probably going to get something good like Lifesteal. Regeneration is not bad, but it's not that insane unless you get a lot of Faded triggers off. So yeah, I like it. The only issue I feel with a leveled up Pantheon is he doesn't have as many Faded triggers if it's the second Pantheon you're playing, but hopefully the keywords will help to mitigate that by getting things like Spell Shield or Tough. So yeah, Pantheon, great card. I look at this card, I look at Pantheon, and I really like the design, not like the card stats and the keywords. I like the design in that he doesn't seem like he's being forced to pair with a certain champion. He doesn't seem like, I don't know, a Nautilus or a Soraka, being forced to pair with like Tom Kench or something, or Nautilus has to be in deep. He doesn't seem to be like that. He reminds me more of like an Ezreal or a Draven or a Fiora or something, where it's like, yeah, there's probably one champ that really likes it, like Ezreal and Draven go well, Draven and Sion, Draven whatever. for Pantheon, it seems like Pantheon Tarek looks pretty solid, but other champions seem really good with Pantheon. For example, Pantheon Riven. I've seen Pantheon Vlad being discussed because of Vlad's champ spell, which is Transfusion. Because, in theory, Transfusion should activate Faded on both of the units. You ping a Faded unit and then you buff a Faded unit, and they'll activate Faded on both units. So, big fan of this kind of design, not like getting not like pre-constructed during the development phase kind of decks. So love this deck. I don't know what I'm the most excited to do with Pantheon. I'm thinking like Pantheon Aphelios, Pantheon Tarek, Pantheon Zoe, Pantheon Diana even. Diana has Pale Cascade as her champ spell. There's a lot of cool things I think that could be done here, and I'm a big fan of it. I do really like Pantheon Zoe, though, because Pantheon, when he levels up, is definitely a good control, or not control, good finisher in general. And Zoe, with all these targeting spells, actually might be able to threaten a level up too. So, you'll have that as your backup, and then, you can play the other Targon cards like Star Shapings, maybe even a Mountain Scryer if you have enough Targon cards for more win cons and just more stuff. Still, though, I kind of personally want to play Pantheon with with Demacia as the secondary region. You get things like Sharp Sight, single combats, barriers. Freljord is also a consideration for Troll Chance. Take Hearts and Braum is kind of cute too. So there's a lot of potential and a lot of different deck combinations I want. I think Pantheon is really great though. His champ spell though, what is his champ spell? Let's talk about that. We've been talking about the guy himself. Let's talk about his champ spell. Shield Vault. 2-mana slow spell, grant an ally +1/+1, and stun an enemy. Permanent buff, really nice. Why is my phone going off? Ignore that. But yes, as I was saying, where was I? Shield Vault. Permanent buff, which is nice. I can never remember the name of the card because it's so bad, but there's that 1-mana spell in Demacia that's 1-mana slow speed, grant an ally +1/+1. It's a faded activator, but I'd rather just play Chain Vest most of the time. For 1 extra mana, you're able to stun an enemy. When you put it that way, that sounds awful. Sure, you might say like, oh, Yasuo time. Yeah, Yasuo's meh. I mean, it's cool. You get a buff your Yasuo, you get to stun an enemy, but slow speed's a little bad. Sure, it activates Faded, which is nice, but I don't think this card is a good card. Let me put it this way. I do think it's a good card. I do not think it's a good enough card to actually play in your deck, but I think as a champ spell, it's a great card. Like, I would not be upset to have multiple Pantheons in hand. Not that upset, because, like, compared to, say, like, drawing, like, 3 Pantheons, that's a little bad. That's kind of a low roll. But, like, that's not as bad as saying drawing, like, 3 Kindreds or 3 Shivanas. Both of them have pretty bad champion spells, right? And plus, I was talking about it earlier. Zoe likes a +1/+1 buff. This will be pretty nice for Zoe. You use this on Zoe, get her out of ping range, out of like Make It Rain and Pokestick range, and you stun, say, an elusive or something, and that's pretty good. So I like this card a lot. Also, the fact that it's Pantheon's champ spell will make it so your opponent will always consider, do I play around Shield Vault when you have a Pantheon on the field? Even if this card turns out to not be main deckable, they'll be like, should I play around Shield Vault and open attack, or should I try to develop the board more, but then they stun my biggest unit and give +1/+1 and maybe even a faded trigger to some unit. So big fan of the card. Really, really like it. Not a good enough main deck card though, but who knows? Maybe Yasuo. I don't think Yasuo is going to become a main meta contender, but maybe people who are smarter than me. So, but yeah, like I said, there's a lot of ways to build Pantheon, it seems, in theory. Riven, Tarek, Aphelios, Zoe, Fiora even, maybe. We can keep going, like Vladimir. I've seen even some people saying Garen, Braum. I got a lot of ideas I'm going to personally try myself. We got a couple more cards, though, so let's go and look at those. Enough talking about Pantheon himself. 3 more cards. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a fan of any of these cards. I think all 3 of these cards are bad cards. Maybe like slightly playable, but I don't think any of them are really that good. First off, I have no idea how to pronounce this card, by the way. Camphor, I think is how you pronounce it. Camphor the Doubt. 6 mana, 5/4. Terrible stat line. Usually your 6 mana cards, you want to be playing your 6 mana cards. They want to be like either like doing big changes to the game, like winning the game, helping to slow down the game a lot if you're trying to stall and help stabilize you. Camphor, I'm not sure about that though, is doing any of that. So what's Camphor do? 6 mana, 5/4. When I'm summoned, so you can't just play this card and have the ability to activate later. But when I'm summoned, if you've targeted allies 6+ times this game, grant me Spell Shield, Overwhelm, and Challenger. So yeah, those are good keywords. Don't get me wrong. Overwhelm, Challenger, and Spell Shield is really, really good. Those stats, not that good. Though that condition though, very, very slow. And you might say, like, streamer, it's only one more than what Pantheon needs. I'm already hesitant to say, like, as much as I love Pantheon, I think it's gonna be really slow to level up Pantheon. And this is just, you need one more turn. Not one more turn, sorry, one more like ally. I guess you could do it all in one turn because unlike Pantheon, Camphor doesn't say you have to target the ally over the course of 5 turns, so that sounds fine, but yeah. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't feel like it's doing enough for a 6 mana card. Like I said, 6 mana and higher cards, in my opinion, want to be doing big changes to games because, you know, you're spending a lot of your mana just to play one card. You had the worry of them being drawn early and breaking your hand, so you need them to be doing a lot, and this is not really doing much, I think. So yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think it's good enough. Really, it's just that health pool. 4 health for a 6-drop is so not good. Sure, Challenger's nice, but even if you force out like a Sharp Side or a Twin Disciplines and get a 2-for-1, you traded what, like a 2-drop and a combat trick for a 6-drop. Sure, you're +1 in terms of card advantage in that trade, but it still feels pretty bad, right? Next card up. Also not a fan of this card. I like it, but I don't think it's good. Freed Colossus. 5 mana, 4/5. When I'm summoned or attacked, create a gem in hand. So it's like Lecturing Yordle for Targon. Except, unlike Lecturing Yordle, I think the card is bad. 1 more mana than Lecturing Yordle, which is really, really expensive. One of the reasons why Lecturing Yordle is so good is like the 4-drop slots is still in the like early-ish mid-game, and there aren't that many good things in the 4-drop slot. 5-drop slot's a little like stacked in multiple regions. And also Lecturing Yordle gives you poison darts. Poison darts are much better than gems. Now you might say, well, the gem's not fleeting. Unlike the poison dart, you can hold a gem for later. Sure, but I'd rather have the poison dart in all honesty. And here's the thing, the stat line's not even that better. For 1 extra mana, you get what? +1/+0 of stats. Now, here's the thing though, also, a lot of people are like, yeah, but Lecturing Yordle's OP, right? Lecturing Yordle is like got extremely good stats for the cost and is most likely going to get nerfed in an upcoming balance patch. At least a lot of people theorize it will be. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this card. The gem's nice. Like, don't get me wrong, gems are nice. Really good with a faded keyword, but I'd rather just be playing Mountain Goats, in all honesty. Outside of like what, PNZ, Mystic Shots, and I guess Avalanches in Freljord. Mountain Goats usually give you at least 1 gem, and you get that for 2 mana as well anyway. So yeah, bigger fan of, I'd just rather play Mountain Goat, in all honesty. Next up, Against the Odds. 3 mana focus spell. If your opponent has more units than you, grant an ally +1/+1 for each extra unit they have. Okay. I think out of all 3 cards here, this is the most playable one. I don't think it's still good, though. Extremely, extremely situational card. Could just be dead in some matchups, like against the slower control-y decks that don't even play that many units. And people are like, oh, it's the death of Swarm decks. I'm like, not really, in my opinion, because here's the thing. you still just have one unit on the field now. If your opponent swarm, like you have one unit, they have 6 units, and your opponent just swarm. You're like, okay, cool. I have one really big unit. Your opponent will just still attack in and suicide in like one unit to force in through a lot of damage. And you'll be like, okay, this is great. Unless your one unit has like life steal. So I've seen some people say like turn 1 pass, turn 2 pass, turn 3 sparkle fly with against the odds. And I'm like, that's really, really slow. And the payoff is what? Like, I'd say like on average, maybe a 3-4 or a 4-5 sparkle fly, which is not terrible, but that's 2 cards. And I'm not the biggest fan of that. Maybe like Fiora, Zoe, Sparklefly, like the Fiora decks would like this too. Fiora Targon was a thing for a bit back when Veiled Tempo was OP and gave +1/+1, and you would play Zoe, Sparklefly, and Fiora and try to make one of them really big. I could see that happening again. The problem is things like Mini Morph are good and popular cards, so I'd be a little scared of the build one really big unit strat. And I guess like you can argue like, oh, what streamer, you have Bastion and ways to give Spell Shield. Sure, but it's not that. It's a little clunky. But I do think this might have some synergy. Like putting this on a lifesteal unit or an elusive unit does seem like a strong strategy, and it activates Fated too, so that's kind of cute, but I'm not the biggest fan of this card. So yeah, that's gonna be it. Pantheon, great champion. Much, much better than Kennen is, in my opinion. Might be the best champion we get this set, depending on what our third champion does, which is most likely going to be Ahri. So maybe Targon is saved now. Targon's been kind of in a bad spot outside of Lee Sin since it kept getting nerfed over and over and over a lot of balance patches. And Pantheon's pretty good. I like him. Doesn't block well though, so he's definitely more of a tempo-y mid-range kind of card. And I'm more of a fan of the slower, more dirtily controlled Targon, things like Aphelios and Aurelian Souls, but I could see this being played with Aphelios. I've been hearing rumors Aphelios might get a buff too sometime, so maybe? And Aphelios does work nicely with Fated because of his moon weapons. But yeah, that will be it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you guys like Pantheon as much as I do. I'd love to hear any ideas you have about Pantheon, because it seems like there's a lot of them. So I'd love to hear any kind of ideas you have on how to build him. Any ideas you have about these other cards like Camphor or whatever. Like maybe you got an idea with Freed Colossus or Against the Odds. I'd love to hear those ideas too. If you guys just enjoyed the video in general, it'd mean a lot if you could leave a like or a comment down below. And if you guys want to keep up with the Legends of Runeterra content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can go and check me out over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Zeneton, where I stream pretty much every single day. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all once more for watching this video. And until I see you guys in the next one, bye!